When you've worked somewhere for 3 decades, you know the rhythm of a place, the way the air shifts before a machine breaks, the difference between Friday silence and tension silence. That morning, it was the wrong kind of silence. I walked through the East Gate like I had every weekday since 1990. Same steel lunch thermos, same safety vest. But heads didn't turn. No jokes. No nods. Just quiet. 10 minutes into my shift, I got a ping from HR. Report to conference room C, immediately. I'd never been called there. No one had, unless they were about to leave with a box and a forced smile. Inside, she was waiting. Emma Hollis, 35, polished, poised, eyes like a corporate audit in heels. She was the new VP of Operations. And, more importantly, daughter of Charles Hollis, founder of Hollis Industrial. I sat. She didn't. Mark Callahan, she began. We appreciate your long-standing service, but after reviewing operational redundancies and upcoming transitions, we've decided to let you go. No cause, no build-up, no human moment, just a decision. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why, because I knew she hadn't read the old contracts, hadn't looked past her PowerPoint metrics, hadn't realized what her father had written by hand in my 2007 extension agreement. Termination without due cause shall entitle the employee to 2 full years' salary, benefits, and pension rights in full. She just kicked a hornet's nest with a smile. That afternoon, I boxed my things. The shop floor watched in uncomfortable silence. No one said a word except Chris Walton, a junior manager I once mentored. You okay? He asked quietly. I looked at him. She just removed the last screw holding the frame together. And then I left. But not before calling Reuben Shaw, my old friend and attorney. Time to dust off the binder, I told him. He didn't even hesitate. Come by tomorrow. Bring the original contract. Then, with that flat calm of a man who's seen boardrooms bleed, he added, let's make them regret being efficient. Reuben's office smelled like leather, dust, and confidence. The kind of place that made you sit straighter without knowing why. He poured me a coffee without asking and flipped through my contract with surgical focus. Page 6. That was the page. He tapped it. She never read this, did she? No, I said. Emma's smart, but she's the kind of smart that skips footnotes. Reuben smiled grimly. That's where the knives usually are. The clause was solid. It had been written by Charles Hollis himself, back when the company still felt like a family business and not a stockholder's plaything. It guaranteed not just payout but influence. It kept me on the books as a strategic advisor unless formal cause was proven. No write-ups, no infractions, no hearings. They had nothing. We'll start soft, Reuben said. A formal letter, citing the clause and requesting compliance. Let them pretend it's a misunderstanding. And when they don't, we escalate, publicly, legally, elegantly. Meanwhile, on the plant floor, the cracks were already forming. Chris texted me that Friday. Line 2's timing system went haywire. They pulled in consultants from Chicago who don't even know where the emergency shutoffs are. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I sat in my garage, flipping through my personal copy of the red binder. The annotated, handwritten manual I'd built over decades. It contained every workaround, every undocumented protocol, every temporary fix that became permanent. And I smiled, because I knew what was coming next. Not fire, not fury, but entropy. And they wouldn't even see it until it was too late. By week 2, the machines were still running, but everything around them was breaking. Chris sent me a photo from the shop floor. Half the monitors on line 4 were blinking red. Sensor errors, misaligned timing loops, and something about code mismatches that made me want to laugh out loud. Those sensors? I'd rigged a workaround years ago after the manufacturer stopped supporting the software. I documented it in the red binder. Guess what didn't get transferred to the consultants? Meanwhile, Reuben forwarded me their response. Corporate's position. The clause is outdated and no longer reflects the company's current structure. In other words, we're ignoring it and hoping you go away. Bad move. Reuben filed a formal breach notification and sent copies to the board of directors. Quiet, clean, and impossible to ignore. We also included an old internal memo from Charles Hollis himself, referencing me as critical infrastructure in a systems audit. 2 days later, Chris called. He sounded tense. Emma's rattled. She held a meeting this morning, chewed out 2 managers for not modernizing fast enough. One of them walked out. Did she mention me? No, but your name's all over the floor. People are starting to whisper. Let them whisper. Let them wonder why the plant's heartbeat was off, why the lights flickered in room B, why the tolerances were failing by exactly 1%, because only I knew how to keep the place breathing. And I wasn't there. I sat in my garage that night, binder open, notes spread across the table. I wasn't just watching it fall apart. I was mapping where it would break next. Emma didn't admit she'd made a mistake. People like her rarely do. But I could feel the shift. Her emails got shorter. More meetings were held behind closed doors. And most telling of all, she stopped using my name. That's how you know someone's scared of what they broke. Chris texted again. We've had 3 near-safety incidents this week. Everyone's blaming each other. Emma brought in a temp manager from corporate HQ. He has no clue what he's doing. I sent him only 4 words. You still got the map? He did, and he started using it. Quietly, the team he trusted began referencing my old systems again. The red binder had found its way back into hands that respected it, not as gospel but as blueprint. Meanwhile, Ruben was working angles. He'd pulled archived email threads, HR logs, and even a few legally acquired call transcripts from Emma's transition period. She'd signed off on my termination unilaterally, without the proper performance audit. That was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 came next. Ruben got a call from someone inside the board. A whisper, not a warning. Apparently, Charles Hollis had been made aware of the dispute, and he wasn't pleased. I thought he retired? I asked. He did, Ruben said. But founders don't fade. They wait. I knew Charles. Worked with him back when he still wore coveralls and grease under his nails. He was a man who remembered debt and didn't tolerate fools. If he was watching, Emma was in trouble, especially since she just did the one thing that proved she never understood what made that plant run. She scheduled a full systems update during peak load. The only thing more dangerous than arrogance is arrogance under pressure. It happened on a Wednesday, peak production. 3rd shift had just handed over to 1st. The new consultant, some guy named Travis, initiated the update Emma had pushed. Firmware resets, calibration software installs, a total wipe of every override I'd ever coded. Within 20 minutes, line 3 stalled. Then line 1 jammed. Then every diagnostic screen in the control room turned gray. Total shutdown. Chris called me from the loading dock, out of breath. I could hear alarms in the background. She won't admit it, he said. She's blaming the legacy systems again. But nothing's responding. Nothing. We had to cut main power. I didn't ask if anyone got hurt. I knew Chris would have told me already if they had. But I also knew this wasn't just a failure. It was a demonstration. You remove the spine, the body falls apart. Simple biology. The next day, Hollis Industrial lost 2 contracts. Delays, missed deliveries, penalties. Someone leaked photos of the frozen control room to an industry blog. The stock took a hit. And still, no one called me. Until someone did. Late Thursday night, I got a call from a blocked number. The voice was old, gravelly, familiar. Mark. I didn't answer right away. Charles, I finally said. He sighed. You still got that binder? I never let it out of my sight. Good, he said. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m. No one else needs to know. Where? He paused. Then, bench by the old rail line, where we used to check the night runs. And just like that, the founder was back. The next morning, I sat on that old iron bench like I had 30 years ago, back when Charles still walked the plant floor instead of sending emails. He arrived 10 minutes late, same denim jacket, same tired eyes that had once seen a company grow from 1 machine and a ledger to 5 buildings and a payroll of hundreds. He didn't shake my hand. Just Saturday. She never read the damn binder. he muttered. I didn't respond. You were supposed to stay, he said. You were the one constant. She made a choice, I said evenly. She made a mistake, he corrected. And now she's buried in it. He handed me an envelope, thick, sealed, his handwriting across the front, to the board of Hollis Industrial. Inside, he explained later, was a directive signed before his retirement, giving him residual veto power over senior appointments in emergency situations. Emergency enough for you now? He asked. I nodded. Then he looked me straight in the eye. I gave her room to prove herself. I didn't expect her to burn the floor she stood on. If I fix this, really fix it, what do you want? I didn't hesitate. I want no NDA, no gag clause. I want my contract honored. 2 years, full benefits, full pension. I want my systems back in trusted hands. And I want your daughter to understand exactly why that matters. He nodded slowly. You'll have it. Then he stood. And as he walked away, he said just loud enough for me to hear, you always were the engine. She just thought she owned the keys. By Monday morning, the boardroom lights were on by 7 a.m. I wasn't there, but I heard enough from Ruben and Chris that the meeting was unpleasant. Charles didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He walked in, laid the envelope on the table, and read every word. Line by line, every clause Emma had violated, every system that had failed, every safeguard I had put in place that was erased by her ambition. She tried to interrupt. He didn't let her. When he was done, he slid a folded piece of paper across the table. My original contract, signed by both of us. Mark Callahan, he said, was more than an employee. He was the balance. He was the fallback. You don't fire the fallback without having one of your own. The board voted 6-1. Emma Hollis was placed on indefinite leave. Her badge was revoked. Her company account disabled. Security walked her out of the building before lunch. And that afternoon, I got a call from HR. Mr. Callahan, we'd like to finalize your severance package, per the original agreement. I gave them Ruben's number and hung up. I didn't want their apology. I wanted the silence to say everything. Later that day, Chris texted, she's gone. Everyone knows why. The floor's quiet, but not scared. Just steady. Like they're waiting for the system to breathe again. I went to the garage, opened the red binder one last time, flipped through the pages. Notes, sketches, ink stains and scribbles from nights no one remembered but me. Then I took out a second binder, the blank one I'd been saving. And I started writing again. Because this time, I wouldn't just fix what broke. I'd teach them to build it themselves. Chris came by that weekend. No official visit, no company car. Just jeans, a hoodie, and the kind of face that hadn't slept enough but looked hopeful. He didn't sit right away. Just stood in my garage, eyeing the old schematics, the binders, the faded photo of the plant on the wall. They want you back, he said. I didn't turn. I'm not interested in a return. I figured, he said. But I was hoping maybe guidance? Now I turned. He pulled out a USB. We've digitized everything. Red binder, notes, schedules. But there's nuance, stuff we don't see unless we've been there. I don't want to screw it up. I took the drive. Didn't say yes, didn't say no. Instead, I handed him the blank binder I'd started filling. This one's not about how to fix things, I said. It's about how to think before they break. He nodded, eyes scanning the first few pages, marked up with diagrams and margin notes. Then he grinned. They're already calling it the Gray Book. Too dramatic, I said. Not for a floor that almost collapsed. As he left, I stood by the doorway, watching the sun hit the hood of his truck. He paused, looked back. She was always chasing her father's reputation, he said. But you. She never understood what you were to this place. What was I? The part she couldn't replace. He drove off, and I went back inside and started writing again. By the time the fiscal quarter closed, things had changed. Production was back on schedule. Downtime dropped by 60%. Safety incidents hit a record low. But it wasn't just numbers that shifted, it was tone. Culture. The quiet return of trust. They didn't make announcements. There was no press release. But people on the floor knew. Knew that what had saved the company wasn't an outside firm or a new VP or a shiny dashboard. It was a man with oil-stained notebooks and a spine of iron who knew when to hold back and when to move. Chris called one morning. He sounded like someone who just walked through a fire and realized he could still breathe. "We've got a problem," he said. "Well, not really a problem. More like a statue." "What?" "There's this wall in the main hall. Used to be full of old marketing junk. They cleared it. We're thinking of mounting something else there. Please tell me it's not my face." He laughed. "Not even close. Just one page. From the red binder. The one with your original handwritten schedule notes and the line at the bottom." I paused. I knew the line. If it breaks once, you blame the part. If it breaks twice, you blame the system. If it never breaks, you thank the quiet man. That was the last line I ever wrote in ink at the plant. I didn't say yes. Didn't say no. But the next day, Chris sent a photo. There it was, framed in glass under soft white light. The single sheet with oil smears still visible. And underneath it, a plaque that read, "In recognition of the one who kept us running when no one was looking." I never returned to the plant. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't need to. Legacy isn't a chair in an office or a name on a roster. It's a system that runs because someone once took the time to make sure it would. I still walked every morning. Same route. Same bench by the tracks. And one day, a young woman I didn't recognize sat beside me, nervous, clutching a lunchbox and a folded schematic. "Are you?" she started. I didn't answer. She smiled anyway and handed me the printout. It was my diagram, my design for the manual override circuit redrawn with cleaner lines and digital annotations. "I work in diagnostics," she said. "I found your notes. They still teach new hires how to read them." I nodded. Then she said something I didn't expect. "Sometimes I think about quitting, but then I think, someone once made sure this place wouldn't collapse. I want to be like that." She stood, left me with the printout. That evening, I slid it into the back of the red binder, one last page. Not because it was mine, but because someone else had chosen to carry the line forward. Charles sent a final note a few weeks later. Short as always. "She's in marketing now. I don't think she even looks at spreadsheets anymore. You were right to stay quiet. Sometimes silence is louder than any apology." I folded the letter and placed it beside the others. And then I closed the binder. Not forever. Just for now. Because the system held.